And speaking of more live action, I feel like there's a theme this evening. It is just live action anime movies. In Japan, the Gintama film surpassed 3 billion yen at the box office, and that actually means a lot because I believe it was the only live action anime adaptation to do that this year.
Right.
Or I think even just domestic film because this year has been, I'm not saying it hasn't been good for Japanese domestic film, but there was another article that I have here that shows, let me see, yeah, only domestic films in Japan's yearly top 10 so far are 2 anime films. And it was actually, speaking, we talked about Detective Conan earlier in the show, a Detective Conan movie, and then the other one was the Doraemon movie, which it makes sense, Conan being going on for so long, and Doraemon going on since the 70s, right? But it's interesting because you look at all the other movies that are doing well, and it's funny because it's like you look at all foreign films. Well, it's funny, not foreign to us, right? Like not foreign to us, like Beauty and the Beast, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, where is it? Moana, Sing, Rogue One, the La La Land, Resident Evil, and Fate of the Furious. But just going back to Gintama for a second, yeah, I'm very happy that this worked out for it because
Shout out for Gintama!
It's sad, man, because we mentioned this earlier talking about Detective Conan. I feel like another theme for tonight's going to be anime that sadly didn't do well in the West. I mean, even the manga for this got canceled. Viz canceled the manga releases for Gintama, I think in the 35. It was either in the 30s or the 20s. They canceled it. And I know, yeah, Tristan's very upset right now. Look at his face if you're watching it on YouTube. Yeah, it's just, no, but I agree. And then so they canceled the manga. So there was no way for it to grow that way. And then, I get it. The sales weren't doing well, but still. And then the anime, I think it was Nozomi Entertainment that was releasing it, and they released it in 13 episode bits, right? But the problem is that Gintama is a long running series, right?
Yeah.
It's a long running series, but it isn't your One Piece, your Dragon Ball Z, your Naruto, your Bleach. So it's a long running series, but
even
to
though
put
it parodies all of those,
which is why it should be more popular in the West.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and I'm not going to blame them for this, like, oh, screw them for not doing this. Like, I don't want to put this on them. But I have to say, though, it was not a smart decision. I know it costs a lot of money to do dubs, but it's not a smart decision to take that show, 13 episodes only, $40, subtitles only. So it's a sub-only disc.
Right.
So, yes, if you're a fan of Gintama, Tristan, you're like, oh yeah, I'll purchase it. But for $40, 13 only? I mean, isn't it like at 300 episodes or more at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like,
I think it's in the 200s, but yeah.
Yeah, and
it's still a lot, yeah.
It's still a lot, and at least with Naruto and Bleach, they eventually went to that 13 episode model, but they originally started off at 26 per, or 20 something per. So like I actually have Bleach seasons 1, 2, I think I have like 3. I think 3 is the one where they were like part 1 and part 2, because that one is the Soul Society arc, so that one's fucking huge, right? But still, so like it made sense, and then sadly they went, I guess to recoup their costs, maybe Bleach wasn't as popular as it used to be, to recoup their costs they went for or Bleach rights got more expensive because it became more popular, which can happen with anime, certain anime over time. When they become more popular, you then go to the licensors to get more of the anime, and then they tell you, hey, the rights have increased. The amount of money is increased. So it's not, let's say, I don't know, it can be anything. Like it's not like 50K anymore. Now it's 80K. So now all of a sudden you're like, oh, and you of course have to think about you needing to pay, let's say, the original 50K to re-up the licenses for the original few seasons. And I'm just making up hypothetical numbers here. I don't know how much Bleach costs. No one does, because that's obviously stuff that isn't released to the public. But still, just putting a hypothetical 50K. They have to think about, okay, we have to pay 50K for, let's say, the first 2 seasons, and we want to license future ones like the Vizaded arcs and stuff like that. And now it's been increased to 80K. And then the Japanese license holders might go back to them when their licenses, when the expiration date is up for the first few seasons, and then they might go, now that's also 80K. So they might have been tearing their hair out like, we need to make this $40 for 13 episodes. So it was jarring to us fans to go from 26 to 13, but that might be why they did it. So, and Naruto did it as well. Thankfully, Funimation never did that. I mean, they did the, back in the day, the 4-episode volume, DVDs. But eventually they stopped doing that, thankfully. Although I think they did it for Kai. And, oh god, I think it's happening for Super too. Never mind, I'm an asshole. But, the point is that there's a dub on Super, and it airs on Toonami because of said dub. There's a dub on a lot of different shows, and not everyone in its contract is able to show on television, even if a dub is in there. Some companies, they're not allowed to show certain shows on television. It's crazy, but like in the contract, it'll be like, hey, this is online only. We only want it to be digital, not on television. So, just because there's a dub doesn't mean it'll be on TV, but I definitely think that giving Gintama a dub would have been a very smart investment.
Yeah.
And it sucks because, it didn't work out in the West because of, I would argue one of the reasons why is because of that. But it's thriving in Japan with this live action movie, and it's sad because I don't know if we'll ever see it legitimately. Because, because think about it, why would it be picked up in the West?
It's up on Crunchyroll, but like a legitimate dub, you mean? Yeah.
Well, no, I'm talking about the live action movie. We're not going to get the live action movie dubbed.
I see, yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good point. Crunchyroll, actually, oh shit, Tristan,
Yeah.
you want to know why?
Not Gintama was one of the first big ones that they picked up.
That's actually true. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, when they originally started going from being a piracy site to an actual online legit streaming site. Well, I mean, they were online already, but a legit streaming site. They actually picked up Gintama as one of their firsts. And man, the subs were terrible. I heard that they were shit. But I mean, obviously they've gotten better. Crunchyroll's gotten better. No, but I only bring it up because of the fact that it's not only because we think of Crunchyroll, we're like, but Crunchyroll wouldn't release it in theaters, but Funimation's working with Crunchyroll now, and Funimation now has Sony money. Sony doesn't own the full company, of course, but they got Sony money in there. Right. So they can expand certain divisions, like their movie division, even further, and they can release Gintama in the West and take a chance on it based on Crunchyroll's numbers, because look, Crunchyroll doesn't have to give them their numbers, but Crunchyroll working with Funimation will be beneficial to both parties if Crunchyroll gives Funimation their numbers, and then Funimation says, okay, let's look at releasing this movie in the West. Right. And then Crunchyroll says, yeah, let's also help you fund this, so it'll be a Crunchyroll Funimation joint project. Right. It would be very smart of them to do that. The only problem is that even if Crunchyroll's numbers are high, because of how well it's doing in Japan, the license holders may charge them more money because of how well it's doing domestically. Right. So that can also be a problem too. You can have a show basically be like Dragon Ball in Japan, but in the West it's undiscovered, right? So it doesn't even have a big fan base in the West, right? I'm just making up a show here. But in Japan it could be like the next Dragon Ball, right? So what ends up happening is an American company says, hey, I want to pick this up. Japanese company says, okay, cool. Pay this amount. And it's like, that's a large amount to take a risk. Yeah. Right? So even though the numbers might be high for Gintama on Crunchyroll, depending on how much the license may cost, it may still be considered a big gamble. Either way, though, very happy that it's doing well in Japan. It seems to be doing very well. So well that it's doing domestically it's very, very high up there. Right. Because I'm looking at the list of another article that I mentioned earlier, the list of all the different all the different anime that are doing well domestically, and it's pretty high up there. So yeah, so that makes me very happy.